And that leads me to my next question. That from journalism, you moved from observing systems to building them through entrepreneurship, technology, and education. What did the transition teach you about creating change that observation alone could not?
When you do a job for someone, then a lot of
Yeah,
things are already given.
right.
They come with the job. And it
Mm-hmm.
becomes very easy journey. And as long as you have the skills and basically some ability to manage people, you're fine. When you start a new business, anything new, first thing, there are two kinds of new business: a business which has already been done and you are just creating another business. That's still a little easier, but it's much more difficult than anything you will do as an employee. But to do something which has never been done before, that's a totally different scale, different, not only scale, totally different ball game, actually. So one
Mm-hmm.
is a matter of complexity, where you can learn from the world. In other, you're creating a world. So I have done both sides, in the sense I picked up something the world had done, and then picked up
Mm-hmm.
several things the world had not done, and there were different kinds of learnings. So I ultimately, it is the kind of purpose that you have, the passion you have for achieving what you're looking at, the kind of instinct you have to get the right people with you, and ability to constantly, you're actually walking in quicksand all the time, if it, as an entrepreneur in a
Mm-hmm.
new area which has not been used before. So if you look at this, is you can write 100 books on that, and it won't be. It's almost like this. Nearly all the poems are about people, right? It's about expression of feelings, and great feelings and tender feelings. And you can write billion poems, but can you say they have exhausted the whole storage of possibilities? No, that doesn't exhaust. Similarly with entrepreneurship. So everyone is going to become a different entrepreneur. And right now we are seeing one big name that we see who has become a trillionaire. Who would imagine that a human being will be a trillionaire in our time? And from 100 billions to a trillion in just about 3 to 4 years time frame, who could have imagined that? But so that's, in other words, it's infinite world of possibilities, world of infinite possibilities. And it all depends on how you deal with it. And everyone finds their own expression. And I dealt with new technologies at a smaller level. I took them from stage A to stage B, stage C, and I left it before that. So I was basically nurturing them in the early stages. From past the seed, sapling has come up. I'm nurturing that, watering it, taking to the next stage. Whatever I could do in three months, 6 months, or 1 year, that was interesting for me. And then I'll pass it on to people who initially founded the organizations. So that's the experience I had in founding it, and being a startup person. About
Mm-hmm.
45 startups. And I think none died, but some succeeded. My best was about, in 39 months, $500 million valuation. That was the best I did. Some people have done much better, but it all depends on place where you are. It depends on what opportunities you saw, what kind of team emerged, what business model emerged. So many things go into making something great. And every single entrepreneur that you see, they're creating a whole new world. Just imagine OpenAI. OpenAI is invested, you can say, capital is more than the invested capital of the top five companies in India, more than that. And they have been around for a long, long time. Even here in America, the if you look at the capital base of OpenAI, is probably in the top 10, 15 companies. And it's just as young as only 3, 4, 5 years old. And similarly, if you look at the Cloud, another AI company, it has within 3, 4 years a $50 billion annual revenue. Who could imagine that? So I think entrepreneurship is about everyone who gets into that is creating a whole new world. And it all depends on the leader, founder, and situations, which place, which time you are at, and what path you figured out or just happened. Path emerges in front of you. Is it that we figure it out? No, I think paths keep emerging in front of us. And I can see many paths that came to me and I did not choose them. So point is, it's not something any book can tell you. The person who is leading it, founding it, they all go through their own churn and they figure it out. And that's it's a very complex process.
Very well said. I mean, Entrepreneurship is definitely is almost is like creating a whole new world. And what
Yes.
fascinating about your journey is that innovation was never just about creating something new. It was about learning, adapting, and understanding what works in the real world. The willingness to experiment, take risk, and learn from setbacks, it becomes an essential part of creating meaningful change. And that naturally brings me to another important chapter of your journey. You have worked directly with social enterprises like Tarahat, Digital Partners India, and Desi Power, while also supporting innovation through early stage investments in startups in the United States. So you have seen change from two very different perspectives, working on the ground with development challenges in India and engaging with innovation through the startup ecosystem. What have these experiences taught you about how meaningful change is created, sustained, and scaled?
Well, now I have a different view, but I can tell you, I began at 17 years of age in a
Mhm.
village where I created the first thing called Vyapar Koti, which basically means, yeah, basically means trading house. Idea was to help the landless laborers learn how a rupee they will invest as capital will become more valuable without them doing anything. So people don't understand how investment works, how capital works. So that was the whole idea it began with that point in time. And uh, apparently somebody wrote a paper on that, and that paper was circulated around. And one day I get a copy of that saying that, well, though we don't really agree on many points, there's no reason why you shouldn't see what you did. And then 10 years, I think 12 years later, I was in Holland in some
Mhm.
Erasmus University's International Institute of Social Studies. They talk about an experiment called Grameen in Bangladesh. I said, what is
Mhm.
this? This looks like something I did. And then it's
Mhm.
just turned out one idea. It got circulated around, and somebody more capable picked it up and became big experiment. And ideas have a way of finding their own expressions. So that was the
Right.
beginning of it. That's the beginning of it all. And that's what I realized. I didn't have the skills to create the next stage of whatever I'm watching and seeing and trying to create or see. From there on, when I founded Digital Partners in India, now, by that time, I knew something more about the markets. I'd seen the global corporations, how they work. I had created a newspaper. I had a little more experience by this time. So it was easy for me. I still can't believe I meet somebody in a board and I said, I think you should put something in it. Then he meets me, same another meeting in Delhi. And I had only, this is my second meeting with the guy. I said, by the way, I thought we talked about it. He said, yes, just send me a letter. And I sent him a letter and he sends me a decent amount. I mean, you're looking at 2001, you get a check of 1 crore rupees just by talking, just by telling him in two different meetings. Probably your total investment was not more than 5 minutes, plus 5 minutes, 10 minutes of investment. Similarly, I spoke to major industrialists just on by chance meeting. I said, I think you should contribute to that. He said, well, today is what, last week of March. So probably it's all done, but before 30th June, you'll get something from me. And 27th or 26th of June, my office calls me and says, somebody has called to find out what's your address. I said, okay, so who is this? They gave me the name. I said, well, give it to them. And I think they will send you something and let me know. Before 30th, this is June, we had a check. What I'm saying is that Indian industrialists, without any phone, technology, anything, they remembered a conversation on somewhere incidental, and they remember, and by the committed date, things will happen. I've seen that level of ethics and commitment and you can say promise to be kept among the Indian industrialists. I've seen that as well. I've seen other sides too. But these are two great stories where without much effort, because you're doing something interesting, society comes together, did that. Similarly, Tarahat.com, their entire technology piece was given by my team, which was our contribution to that project. But
Mhm.
Tarahat.com team was learning constantly. So they were not creating new value. They were more interested in
Mhm.
learning. And some teams are like they want to learn more and more and more. And some they work with what have they learned, they can create new value. So Taraha.com, whatever we created, it when it went to ITC, it became eChopal. eChopal
Mhm.
became a huge experiment, and the chairman of ITC, he got Petersburg Prize from World Bank. I was involved in that as well. And similarly, it went to Hindustan Lever, which became a Shakti project. We don't hear much about it, but they used the way they did. But
Mhm.
Tarahat.com remained where it was. But it's two expressions you can call in two different
Mhm.
large companies of India achieved a kind of a scale which was always in everyone's dream, but only they could have made it possible. So that's what happened to digital partners. I think created Baramati initiative with
Mhm.
Baramati is the village of Sharad Pawar, who was a very prominent, who is prominent politician, but at that
Right.
time he was really very, very powerful. And so we had a kind of working together. And when I was a couple of years back, I met him, he said, you know, whatever we began, now we have 30,000 students. Now we need to raise the quality. And I said, whenever you come to me, I'll come there because if you don't come to me, I know you're not ready for the job. Because he's so busy. He's so busy. But we had a great relationship in that sense, working together. It was a great fun working with Pawar.